This is how I make the silver setting. The jewels are in the other video. I start with a straight black to white blend. A lot of people will make an offset blend, but it's easier for me to just make a regular Skinner blend and then make sure I have a solid sheet of white at one end and a solid sheet of black. You could modify that by making it darker or lighter, depending on how many sheets of white or black that you use. That's a big blend. You don't have to make it quite that big. I've reduced it so that I can work with it a little bit easier. This I've taken off to wrap around the jewel. So you don't have to split up a blend. You could just make different blends when it comes time to using different things. But for now, I'll take this blend and portion it out. So this one I'm going to just make some little teardrop shapes. So this is like the jewel, except I didn't add the shiny spot parts. And now I covered it in black. So now I have this log covered in black, a very thin sheet of black. And I'm pinching it. You got to pinch the same part of the white all the way down. So maybe you can use the line where the black sheet connected as kind of a guide. And here I've cut it in half, double it. I really want to pinch that really sharp. You'll be surprised how sharp you'll have to pinch that for those to be able to be worked with the rest of the pattern. And always, these little triangles, and tinier than you think, just a tiny little triangle. I've decided to start just using gray because, let's face it, with all the scraps we get, there's going to be a lot of gray. In this case, it happened to be a blend in the black, but anyway, whatever you use, you need to fill in that little triangle to keep that shape of those teardrops. And reducing an interesting shaped cane. Not as difficult as you might think. I shouldn't say that. The point is you keep the shape while you're reducing. Okay, here's another section of the silver setting. I take the blend and I roll it flat. I'll let the black go over the white. Cut it in half. Put it together so the white is covered, sandwiched and covered in between the black. And then I roll it some more. Then go ahead and squish down those edges. Roll it because I want those tapered and flatter. I'm going to start slowly and carefully, avoiding air bubbles, and roll that into a spiral. But I won't go the whole way. Just enough for the end of that to be a spiral. Now I need to get a triangle in there, but leave plenty of room for other patterns. So that could have been a little bit longer and pointed, reaching to the very end. But the important thing is that there's the right shape of triangle in there to kind of preserve that spiral and keep it rounded. Again, you can reduce the shape of cane if you're careful. So this time, I want a big one and a small one. So I'm going to cut 1/3 and then stretch that 1/3 as long as the other one, which makes a big one and a small one of the same length. And as you can see, there will be that extra little section to fill in with a triangle, again to preserve the rounded shape of the spirals. And now you can add those in all kinds of different ways, but this is the way I've decided. And put those together, and then I still have a lot of sections that need, little tiny sections that need filling in. Again, remember they can be smaller triangles than you might think you need. There's one there. Can you identify the places that will need triangles? The corners need triangles, and there needs one more extra little triangle inside that small spiral. So here I am just mixing up all that scrap into gray. So from now on I'll just use gray. And you can look carefully at the image in the PDF to see all the little corners that need to be filled. So this is going to be much different than any cane I've even made. These are going to be 4 corners of a cane, so it won't be a kaleidoscope in the same way because it'll only be 4 sections. And there'll be a little space left over for the jewel. So where my thumb is pressing in here, that needs to be 1/4 of the roundness for the jewel. That will make more sense later. Everything else needs to stay parallel. Otherwise it's a square with 90-degree angles. Just that one little section there that you see me pushing in with my thumb, that will be space for the jewel. Now I have 4 sections to arrange like this, but it's a bit of a diamond still, so I'm going to round that out. It's not going to be perfect, but it's a little bit rounded. The rest will fit perfectly once I get that jewel in there and stretch the outside around the jewel. It'll work out just fine. And even if it's a little more like a diamond shape, that's okay too. It'll still look pretty cool. There it is. Now once you have these components, spirals and teardrops, you can assemble them in any way you'd like. I'll have still pictures of these in the PDF so you can copy them. This one makes a continuous border pattern. Just 2 spirals and 2 teardrops with gray in between, gray triangles. It looks complicated, but it's just teardrops and spirals. And this one I just took that red rectangle that I originally showed you, made 6 of them, and wrapped them around the yellow.